Hey guys, thanks for tuning into a new video today. So just wanted to take some time to explain this issue here. So this is a Whirlpool electric dryer. It is branded as Crosley. There's also Maytag and Whirlpool, some other brands, but Whirlpool makes all these dryers. So if you have a dryer that looks like this, so specifically it has one of these pulled out filters like this, it has the temperature switch, push to start, and also the time switch. Basically, it's a Whirlpool dryer that is branded as another name. So the issue that I'm having with this dryer is that when I am setting, the dryer to run, like on time dry or auto dry, it does not heat. Everything runs properly. The airflow is good. It shuts off and turns on when it needs to, but there's just no heat. So first things you want to look at is just make sure that this is not clogged. There's a sensor, a heat sensor within the dryer that if this is clogged, it gets too hot, it'll turn off the heating element. Okay, so you want to make sure that's, checked. You want to make sure that your filter's cleaned out. That's another issue. But, I did all the checks that I saw in other YouTube videos, and it wasn't anything wrong with the internals of the unit, and I believe it's actually part of the switch that's the problem. So we're going to go ahead and take apart the switch, and we're going to look at the contacts within the switch, because I believe that they're just not contacting very clearly, and it's allowing the heating element not to turn on. So let's go ahead and show you how I take this apart. Okay, so I took off the back panel screws and the back panel and just laid it there. And then you end up with something like this. So here's the timer. And you just want to, there's two screws. There's one on this side and one on this side on the back of the unit. So I just took those out. So then we're just going to get it off, you just pull the knob off. And then you have the unit here. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so now we have the unit kind of hanging out. I have the wires, I still need to unplug that, but what I decided to do is take a Sharpie, and I just wanted to write the orientation of how it went. So when I turn the knob, I know what section it's on. So time dry right up here, and then air dry down here, and then auto dry and wrinkle free. So mine just doesn't get heat during the time dry. So as I turn it to time dry, now I'll know where to turn it to, and to check to see what the switch is doing. Anyway, let's go ahead and take all the wires off and get it at my workbench and take a look at it. Okay, so after you get it taken off the unit, you're just going to need a couple things. You're going to need first a multimeter, a piece of light grit sandpaper, and a Phillips screwdriver. So let's go ahead and take it apart. So you just kind of pull the knob off, comes right off, and then there's two screws. So you can see there's one here. Okay, so just a little bit of detail before we move forward. So the 240 volts come in on pin A and pin C. So if your heater element is not working, it has to be a problem with these two pins. So let's go ahead and take a look. Mine does not function when it's on time dry. So let's go ahead and take this off. It's actually a really cool unit inside, but basically it's set to off. And so let's go ahead and turn mine to time dry. And you can see pin A and pin C are the first one and the third one, and they are touching. So basically, if you look really close, you can see that they're not touching very well. Like there's a bunch of black stuff and some metal shards. So I think that's the problem here, is that as these come in contact with each other and then off, it kind of sparks and the metal gets a little ruined. So what I'm thinking is I'll turn it to off. Okay, so once you have it off, pull it off again. You're going to take your sandpaper and you're just going to lightly clean off these contact points. And you just want to remove any weird connections, like you see any little pokies. Mine had some black. I'm taking off that black and I'm just shining this up a bit, making it nice and flat so when these contact, they'll actually contact together really well. Okay, so you can see it's much better, much cleaner. So let's go ahead and turn it to time dry, and then we can test it with our multimeter. So time dry is anywhere there, and you can see that those three are now touching. So you take your multimeter and you turn it to ohms, so the lowest setting of ohms. And right now it shows a 1 because it's an open switch, so we want it to show a closed switch. So right there, it does have contact now. So when I tested this previously on the washer itself, I touched these two pins together and it showed an open switch. So now that I've sanded those, they're actually connecting again. So I think this will fix the issue. Let's go ahead and put the screws back in and hook it back up to the machine. Okay, so we got the switch back in, timer switch and everything. Everything's plugged in electrically. I just plugged in the dryer. And next thing we want to do is we want to just test to see if we get heat now, because whenever it was on time dry before, I didn't get any heat. It would run, but it wouldn't get any heat. So let's go ahead and make sure it's turned to high. And well, what we're going to do is we're going to actually open the dryer up. And so you got to be careful with this because we're basically going to have the door open while it's running, but I want to just see if we get some heat. So there's a switch up here. We can push this to trick the door shut. So we're going to hold that down, and then we're going to tap the end of the start cycle. And we're going to watch, and we're just going to see if that gets red now, because if it gets red, then that means it's working. Well, there it goes. Okay, so I'm starting to feel some heat now. So basically, it's working just like it should now. So let's go ahead and shut it off. Fill it in there. Oh yeah, nice toasty warm. Okay, so let's go ahead and shut that. So, okay, so what we learned from this is basically when it was set to time dry, those three prongs that we cleaned off, previously they weren't touching properly, so it was basically saying that it wasn't supposed to be on. But now that we cleaned up those prongs with a little bit of sandpaper, those contacts are super clean, so now it actually turns on the heating element. So just wanted to show you guys that trick. Pretty useful. If you guys do this, you guys can save anywhere from $65 to $120 on these units. That just this switch alone inside, this timer switch, I found on Amazon. It was pretty expensive, so it's something you can easily do yourself. If you have any questions or comments about the process, just leave them in the description below, and I can try to help you out with that. But you can see it's pretty simple, easy to do. Only takes about 20 minutes. Most of the time is just getting it out of the unit. So if you guys like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Also, I just advise that you guys subscribe. I have a lot of videos that come out like this that are pretty helpful. Thanks for watching. You guys have a great day.